by the Senate, why are they shying away from it? Why are they shying away from it? Why will somebody who is a professor of law, who has a clear understanding of this document, say that we have no powers to confirm? Whether we like it or not, they can act. If it is not for the sheer purpose of mischief and creating problems in this country, it's a document. Anybody who says anything contrary to this document, whether you are an illiterate or a professor of law, it only means you don't wish Nigeria well. Therefore, I want to say that the letter that has been sent to the Senate, for us to confirm the man that has to head the Lottery Commission, if the acting president knows that it is we that have to confirm, and now is falling in tandem with the position of this constitution, he should go back and reverse himself, or reverse the executive position about the confirmations that we have rejected here, because it is our right. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, a lot of my very respected colleagues have made their contribution saying that it's a bad institution. It's a bad institution called the Senate. It's not about you, sir, who is sitting down there and presiding over the affairs of this Senate as Senate President. It's not about the leadership. It's not about even ourselves. It's about this country. Anybody that says anything in this country today that tends to violate our own corporate existence, it only means by whatever guise they are described, by whatever stature that they have, they don't wish this country well. I believe this is the time we must tell ourselves the truth. If the executive or part of it is in doubt about the provision, they should go to the Supreme Court. I would have expected that by now, if the acting president made a pronouncement as to the powers that we have over appropriation or over confirmation, they should have gone there. It is not our own, it's not our position to go to the Supreme Court for interpretation, because we have a clear understanding of this constitution. We are not arrogated, we are not impostors to take the function of executive and start acting here. They are the ones that are impostors. If they know it's not their role, then therefore let them go and seek the interpretation in the higher court of the land, with the Supreme Court. This is my submission. Thank you very much.
Deputy Senate President.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let me make it clear that this has nothing to do with the DG of the Lottery Commission. It has absolutely nothing to do with Magu as chairman of EFCC. It has everything to do with what our Constitution says. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, one of the very distinctive features of the Senate is the power of confirmation. And the framers of this Constitution were wise in giving the powers of confirmation to the Senate, not just to the National Assembly, but to the Senate. The reasoning, I believe, is because if you look at the age requirement for being in the Senate, it is slightly higher than that of the House of Reps. They believe that we'll have men and women that will populate the Senate, that will be in the position to ensure that all parts of this country are represented in various positions. They will be in the position to examine the quality of men and women that have been appointed to various positions that requires confirmation. And therefore, this country will be able to have the best men and women in various positions. That's exactly why the Constitution now made provision for confirmation of certain appointments and went ahead to assign that responsibility to the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, a lot of argument has been going on whether the National Assembly or indeed the Senate have powers to confirm certain appointments not contained in the Constitution. I'll come back to that. Let me just quickly look at Section 171, which has been the major area of debate amongst lawyers and even those in government. They believe that under 171, that the President can appoint persons to certain positions and also appoint persons to act in those positions without the confirmation of the Senate. Let me just quickly read what Section 171 says so that we'll have a fuller understanding of the import of that section. powers to appoint persons to hold or act in the offices to which this section applies, and to remove persons appointed from any of such offices shall vest in the President. The offices in which this section applies are namely the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, the Head of Service of the Federation, Ambassador, High Commissioner, or other principal representative of the Nigerians abroad, the Permanent Secretary in any ministry or head or next ministerial department of the Government of the Federation, howsoever designated, and any office or the personal staff of the President. If you look at this subsection, that's 1712, and offices referred to, one thing is certain: none of these offices are tenured, not one. So they are there at the mercy of the President. He can remove them, he can appoint them, he can put an act in. None of them requires confirmation except that of the High Commissioner or the Ambassador. And the Constitution went ahead in Section 4 and said, any appointment to the office of Ambassador, High Commissioner, or other principal representative of Nigeria abroad shall not have effect unless the appointment is confirmed by the Senate. So if you look at these sections, you discover that none of them, as I said, is tenured, not one. And so if you go to Section 153 of the Constitution, where the executive bodies are named, and you go further, yes. And if you go further to 155, after naming the positions in 153, in 155 it says, a person who is a member of any of the bodies established as aforesaid shall, subject to the provision of this part, remain a member thereof, A, in the case of an ex-officio member, while he holds office by virtue of which he is a member of the body. B, in case of persons who is a member by virtue of his having previously held office for the duration of his life. And C, in the case of a person who is a member otherwise than as ex-officio member or otherwise than by virtue of having previously held an office for a period of 5 years from the date of his appointment. So that is why in Section 153, all the positions named in Section 153 requires the confirmation of the Senate, and you cannot appoint them in acting capacity. Now, but what is very, very important, sir, is Section 535 of the Constitution. If you look at Section 5 of the Constitution, 51B, it says, subject to the provisions of this Constitution, the executive powers of the Federation shall extend to the execution. The executive powers of the Federation shall extend to the execution and maintenance of this Constitution and all laws made by National Assembly. All laws made by National Assembly. So what he's saying is that if the National Assembly says you require confirmation, you require confirmation. And you cannot go and act until you get that confirmation. That is simply what he says. So if you go to if you read together with 171, you can see the distinction. Because those ones does not require confirmation. So if you have made clause and say you require confirmation, there's a duration for the period of staying, that is the law. And nothing anybody can say do about it. Just as Senator Adeyemi has said, if you have any problem with that, you have to go to court. And unless you get a court declaring null and void, it remains the law and you must obey it. So that's the Constitution we inherited. We didn't make this Constitution ourselves. So it is important that the executive have this thing clear in their mind, that Section 171 has nothing to do with the issues we are discussing. Those are personal staff of the President for which he can hire and fire, and they can then put their acting capacity because they do not have any duration. It's not tenured. So that is different from the ones that are already tenured by virtue of the laws we made in this National Assembly. So the procedures for the appointment and the tenure they exercise are all settled in the Constitution, and by Section 5 of the Constitution, the executive is bound to obey it. That is the law.
Senator Bible, you wanted to say something? After that, we'll take prayers.
Thank you, Mr. President. My distinguished colleagues, I simply want to bring to the attention of this chamber and all Nigerians to ask the question. The president is the person who is at the head of government now and to whom we assume that everything we say today will go to. But we have a serious problem in Nigeria today. We have nobody in Nigeria who is at the head of the government. Because...
Your mic.
They have not had you. You ask them.
Order what?
Wait now, I have the...
Order what? Order 56, Abi?
I have the floor. Leave me now.
Order 56, Abi, that's what you said.
56. Hey, wait.
If you are quiet, you will hear him. He said order 56. Malafa, find your page now. I bet I have. Oh yeah, Senator Plenary, I think you have to continue. Malafa is not ready. No. We are not ready.
I have the floor, Abaribe. I come under order 53(4). A senator must confine his observations to the subject under discussion and may not introduce matter irrelevant thereto. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, it is a collective, it is an abuse of our sensibilities and the sensibilities of Nigerians everywhere, to make the assertion that there is no head of government in Nigeria and there is a vacuum in the leadership of Nigeria today. The Constitution is very, very clear. If the president is out of the country, the Constitution is clear as to who is the head of government. If the acting president is out of the country, wait, I have the floor. If the acting president, if the acting president, do your work, my friend. Keep quiet. If the acting president, for whatever reason, is not in the country or is not on the seat, for whatever reason, the Senate President is the next in the line of succession. And if the Senate President